Andre, I sent you this yesterday.
Yeah, bring it up.
Let me grab the story here. So we all kind of knew that Agatha was all along never was going to be for us.
What?
So
yeah, indeed, they appear to be going for a different target audience, and this is something that we've been saying all along. That never mind Deadpool and Wolverine. That is not the sign of a new direction. That is a fluke. And as soon as Deadpool and Wolverine is done, it's straight back to what they've been doing the last few years. I mean, the next movie out on the big screen is Captain America 4, which by all accounts was a disaster, and it's still probably a disappointing thing. But the most immediate follow-up to Deadpool and Wolverine is Agatha All Along. And as we've been hearing for months now, they're going to go all in on the LGBTQIA+
Oh, no, really?
Yes, really. And as we have here from Total Film, says Agatha All Along showrunner explains how One Division themed drag brunches inspired the Marvel spin-off. I wanted this show to be worthy of that type of fandom. So, yeah, basically, the showrunner has then been to drag brunches, which were inspired by One Division, and those drag brunches have now in turn inspired Agatha All Along, because that's the audience they want to cater to, and they really want to be worthy of the drag audience. Now, if you're into drag, more power to you. But if you go out of your way to try to win over the drag audience, then maybe, just maybe, you're not going to be able to retain the general audience, because this is like the big mistake that they have been making with this entire DEI drive, is the assumption that the entire audience that we have is going to be there as we completely change and tailor the product to win over more and more extreme groups on smaller and smaller audience segments. Everyone else is going to stay. That has been proven not to be the case. So it'll be fun then to see if the power of one, the power of two, and the power of many different subgroups and audience segments that not everyone in the audience agrees with, if that's going to do wonders for the viewership numbers of Agatha All Along. What say you? Like, Paul, you had like an instant reaction here to these news. Now, when you know Agatha All Along is inspired by One Division themed drag brunches, does this make you more excited for the series?
What's funny is that when was this posted? August 30th. Okay, so this is post Acolyte debacle, right?
Yes, after that.
Yes, they're still banging on this, that somehow they think that this is the way to go. Everyone's I mean, Acolyte should have been the last straw. That they've come to the conclusion that this is just not working. And as you guys mentioned, you know, Kevin Feige, other people are saying that perhaps this isn't the way to go. On the other hand, I think the whinging from Amanda Stenberg is kind of indicates that the people out there still don't understand what's going on, and people like this are so involved with their own navels that they don't get it either. It's just going to require massive failure to point out to them that this is a dead end.
To go back to what I was saying earlier, is I think they're aware of it, but as we've been pointing out time and time again, especially Andre, we have to get through this shit first to see if, when we get on the other side of this, if what he's saying and what others are saying, Chris, and stuff I've heard and so on, is actually true, right? So basically, once we get to like the Fantastic Four, then we'll hopefully start to see a bit of a change. If we don't start to see a change, then we know he's full of shit, right? Like that's the thing, because these things, this show, The Ironheart show that's been sitting, that's the thing, that thing's been sitting on the shelf now for what, almost 5 years? Like, Christ, I mean, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it's been a while because they shot it, I believe, before Wakanda Forever, because she's in that. And then the other shows or movies they have are also movies that have been shot and in the can and reshot and reshot and reshot 4 times over. And we got to get past the Thunderbolts and Captain America 4 to get to Fantastic Four.
But
so I don't know. And we know they're already changing Avengers. There's some of our proof, right? Is that they've already scrapped this Kang shit and all that kind of stuff. But anyway,
I think it's management that is slowly pushing these individuals. The problem is that these people live in a bubble and they believe their own they're like, they have an ideology. They believe it. And when there's failure, they blame other people. And when there's examples like Wolverine, Deadpool and Wolverine, where things are working, they dismiss it. It's again, I hate
they rationalize the failure away.
Correct. They're like the Stalinists that I went to school with. They could never see or understand the evidence that's before them. They rationalize everything.
Deny it. Just like when Galileo Galilei tried to show like the fundamentalists, but just look in here, you can see it. You can see here's moons going around Saturn. No, they refuse to see it. But culture, I'm sure you have some thoughts on this as well before we point out the big flaw in this marketing drive.
Well, again, I mean, you're isolating yourself to a tiny little fraction of an audience in so many different ways, from the drag audience that you're appealing to, or the LGBTQ audience. Disney is a master of minimizing their audience now. You know, they are capitalizing on the idea of who is this made for. Well, it's not made for enough people. They're not appealing to a broad audience. So their failures are driven by their own marketing and their own inspirations. In this case, it says Branch is inspired by them, those drag brunches, I should say. And look, I mean, when you're making mass media entertainment, you need to remember the first word, mass. You need to appeal to the masses.
Well, that's the problem, right? Culture is you're spending $200 million on a show that should be, and this is the difference. I'd be almost kind of intrigued if this title was instead John Waters doing a drag-inspired Halloween movie this year. That's different because he would only be spending $5-10 million on it as opposed to 200 million. You're right.
Well, and again, I mean, there is a limited number of people, that are interested in going to see drag performances. Well, if
you said this was a John Waters Halloween movie, I'd be totally there for it. I got you.
It would be quite different, yeah. But look, I mean, if this is what the show is about, and we're going to get musical elements, we've already been guaranteed, then you're further limiting your audience again. I mean, because believe it or not, musicals do not appeal as broadly as a lot of people would like them to. I mean, one of the most recent musicals out there in the world, would have been the one that Rachel Zegler drove to failure. It was a remake.
West Side Story.
It was a remake of West Side Story. The surprise musicals that did okay was the latest Oz film, which was complete garbage. I don't know why people appreciate it, other than, the fellow that's in that seems to drive some audiences wild. But overall, I think that this show, and probably every way it's been presented, from the showrunner to obviously its inspiration, you're going to have a hard time with this. And I'm going to tell you right now, anything that promotes itself as an all woman, all something, or woman, whatever driven or whatnot, this is also, again, limiting the audience, because there's no such thing. When a man's directing a film, you don't think there's women involved in that? Of course there is. Behind the camera, absolutely. But if you're going with this all women idea, I mean, again, you're further limiting your mindset, your set of opinions, your life experience, et cetera, et cetera. That's not how you make good things. You don't make good things by being exclusionary to that nature. You want to be organically inclusive, which Hollywood was forever. I don't know why we're artificially bolstering numbers that were already, off the scale in one direction. It doesn't matter. But those are my thoughts around this, and I can tell you this much: I am not watching this.
Yeah. So, Mikey, it was
the official reason for why they're doing this is because they have already maxed out their audience. So officially, they need to expand into new groups to grow the audience further. In the process, shrinking it tremendously, which seems to be the practical outcome.
I was gonna say, Mikey has been quiet on this. What's your reaction to this drag show?
I ain't going to see no drag crap.
Well, that's solves it right there. And this is kind of like the problem that they have, because for a while there, Hollywood went all in on lesbians and figured if we just put a chick in it and make her gay, everyone is going to flock to it. I don't know why they thought that, but they seemingly did. Maybe not everyone, but there are certainly true believers that absolutely believe that. That's what they did with the Acolyte, and that's what they did here. Their problem is that, well, some may have learned that, so if we really just go all in on LGBTQIA+ plus entertainment, we're going to get the LGBTQIP+ plus numbers, which aren't really all that high. They figured that out now. But the problem is that this thing is already in the can. They already wasted the 200 million on it. So now what's they're going to do? They can try to say, whoops, sorry, we screwed up here. Or they can try to pretend like nothing and say, yay, diversity for everyone, or something like that.
Well, and that's kind of where I'm coming from, is they still obviously have to, play the game, right?
Yeah.
They got to put this out there. And at this point, this actually, my observation, this looks more like desperation than anything, because I think they know that there's no way the general Marvel audience is going to watch this, let alone the general audience. So they're going to have to go after whatever numbers they can. And if anything, I wonder if this is a pivot after what happened to the Acolyte to try and get in the audience that they were hoping they were going to get with the Acolyte, but didn't show up to the Acolyte, to where Marvel's a little bit more accessible to the broader general audience right now than Star Wars. But I could be wrong on that.
But if you even if you get every single person,
I'm not disagreeing on that point, but this is like, you're looking like, my point is like, I know where you're going, Culture. You're going to say you're still going to be minimal numbers, right? Yeah. Well, this is like you're basically looking at, we've got a warehouse full of shit. How do we get rid of it? There's only one audience that's going to be interested in it. Let's go after that audience. Well, that's kind of what I'm saying.
But Disney now has pure disdain for their core audience. They are having a very hard time pivoting out of the family thing, and they aren't enjoying all the negative publicity that comes out of not appealing to traditional families. And at the same time, they're also setting themselves up for future failure, because you're appealing to folks that don't procreate. And so your future generations.
Well, I agree with you.
Your future generations of audience are going to be just further and further self-limiting until you're at a point where you got nobody. Disney, this has never happened before. You've never had this much short-sightedness. Disney's actually counting on a future where you're going to be forced to watch their garbage, right? It's going to be part of your social credit score. I
don't think they're so sure of that anymore. That's my point, is yes, we have to get past this, but I'm not so sure that they know that that's a done deal, because I've been seeing a lot of advertisements for Disney stuff lately that makes me wonder if they don't realize they fucked up big time.
Management, but the people, for instance, that are posting stuff like this for Agatha are in their bubble and will remain in their bubble. And as Andre said, they will have nothing but excuses.
Oh, I'm not disagreeing that point. My point is, though, my point is they know this is a failure already. They know nobody's going to be interested in it. So they're literally going after the one audience they know might be interested in it. That's what I'm saying. I don't know if that makes sense to anybody but me.
Knowing what I know about showbiz and television shows is that even if in the back of their mind, they are kind of suspecting that this is where it's going, they won't admit it until it's finally out and the numbers are out. They're hoping beyond hope that they've got something that will not trend the way that everybody is predicting. Right to the bitter end.
Probably, yeah. Probably you're entirely right that I'm sure that many people are sure behind the scenes that this is going to be a disaster, but they'll be quiet, they'll say nothing, everyone is going to pretend to themselves that, yay, this is going to be a hit. And behind closed doors, they all know that it isn't. But at this point, they have no other choice but to pretend the game, because they can't just give up and say, oh, we're just going to scrap this whole thing now. probably because it has stuff in it that's going to be important for later on. Probably this is going to lead straight into the Vision series from the showrunner of Star Trek Picard, which is going to bring back tons of people. This is going to be the building blocks for that. Who knows? Maybe there's going to be some clues in here that's going to be followed up in Captain America 4. I'm sure this thing right here, like so many other stuff, has things that means that they have to release it, no matter how shit it is. And some people no doubt know that it is, and it's not going to have an audience. But at this point, they're already locked into a corner. Ain't nothing they can do but to release it.
But here's the problem. This is the biggest problem with everything Disney's been doing, trying to push Disney Plus. You are now destroying your films. Correct. Because if you interconnect, Andre, as you were suggesting, and I know you and I agree on this, if you interconnect your television product, which is only available to a limited number of people globally, which is only going to be subscribed to by an increasingly lesser number globally, then you're basically destroying your film performance, because people are going to be like, none of these films make sense anymore because they don't have any of the homework done.
Well,
go ahead.
No, I was just going to bring up the whole, you're not wrong. And I'm not disagreeing with any of your guys' points. And Andre's kind of leaning more into what I've been trying to say, is that they already know they've got this, they got to deal with it. Right. And Lauren Taylor says, well, they could Batgirl it. Maybe, but if they could have, they would have already.
I don't think they can. I think they have already built in story threads here, which means that it's going to have repercussions.
There could even be tax incentives and things that they couldn't fucking do it for too. That's the other thing we're not thinking of, maybe that Mike can elaborate on too, because I don't know where they shot half these things. I know when they shoot in the UK, they have certain tax breaks and stuff there. If they do a Batgirl on some of these things, I don't know if they can. See, because that's the difference, is the way Batgirl was structured compared to the way Disney structures things. I don't know if the Marvel shows are structured the same way as the way the HBO Max stuff was, to where they could actually memory hole Batgirl without any problems, or at least, losing the minimal amount of money.
I would imagine that they probably financially can't do it. I can't see there being like any third parties involved in a Disney Plus series that would prevent it. I think the bigger issue is that they have locked themselves in creatively, that they have story threads from previous things which are followed up here that will lead directly into other things. And that means that they can't memory hole it without suddenly have to extensively reshoot or rewrite a bunch of other things, which means that it's cheaper for them to just release it at this point than to spend, I don't know, maybe another $400 million between reshoots and rewrites and realignments of things to come.
If we start to see a bunch of Dorito bags and other things with Agatha all along on it, then that's why they can't.
I don't think we're going to see that.
You never know.
But yeah, it's true. That would be a reason why they couldn't.
Let me add to this, and I put a story in the back there for you to peruse if you so choose. But I'm looking at like information that leads us to believe that industry insiders have no faith in this show. The people that from the financial side have no faith in this show.
I believe it. That's what I've been saying all along. Yeah.
The budget aligns somewhere in that $100 million to $200 million range as well, which seems to be what all these shows go for. It's at minimum $100 million. And are you gaining $100 million worth of subs? I mean, when you have Paul Tassi, the crusader of the crazy, agenda nonsense, coming out and saying this is essentially guaranteed to be the MCU's least watched show. And then
I think Andre's comparing this to The Acolyte is very sound. I think this is going to fall on the audience like that.
Culture was about to do the same thing.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. This actually guarantees that we're going to see Acolyte numbers here, and it'll be the example as to why Marvel is now completely in the toilet. Understand, Deadpool and Wolverine was a one-off. It's an outside of the universe spectacle that everybody appreciated, which is why it's sitting at over $1.25 billion right now. The film will have enough legs to get it to the 1.3 billion that, you know, I post predicted after I predicted it wouldn't make $1 billion because I couldn't see an audience returning to see this for an R-rated film, but I was wrong. People took their kids. That's fine. But this film in and of itself, or excuse me, this show in and of itself is the Acolyte. I think Andre's right. I think you're right, Tom. I think everybody watching is probably right, thinking that this is the Acolyte of Marvel. And it's only going to point towards a giant gaping hole that Disney has dug themselves into. They're about to do it in the theme parks, folks. They're literally gutting history from their theme parks, and that's their plan to completely undermine much of the reason why people continue to go to Disney theme parks. You know, it's a celebrated time in America. In every single decade of American growth that the parks represent. Disney's gutting that history to replace it with empty IP. IP doesn't always last. It's not fondly remembered. I mean, like Mike's favorite blue film, Avatar, that particular film, that fell out of the public zeitgeist right after it, you know, went in and out of theaters. It was a technological, gorgeous moment in time. The second film did the same thing. But the cultural weight of those two films so far have done bupkis. And the best part about them is an attraction that was built by qualified people before they left at the Disney theme parks. Can you imagine what they're going to build now? How heartless and empty and soulless these are going to be? I'm telling you, the Disney company as a whole lost its way. And they've done it with every property they've acquired. All these are boy brands. The MCU is a boy brand. And now you're bringing us a chick LGBTQ show with a drag queen appeal. Is that a boy brand? Anyway, I'm done. Rant over.
Well, that's how you expand the brand, according to the theory. You already have the boys, so now you need to bring in the massive trans audience and the
but you don't
no, of course not. But you're talking common sense now. I'm talking studio executive point of view, and they'll still not admit that they were wrong. They're just slowly going to move a different direction. But I do appreciate this article because it only goes to show that more and more people, while they will dispute why, while they will protest it, while they will only fighting and screaming accept a new direction, they will see that this ain't working and we're killing all our brands here. And we basically have to go back to what the audience actually wants. But we'll try to come up with a compromise and bring in some of the stuff that we want to put in there. And they're going to keep on failing as long as they do that. You're
I'm
muted,
with you.
Bullshit.
Oh, yeah, I figured it out. Yeah, I was just going to say, it's just like, and what's weirder still, Andre, is that's a revelation from back in June, the end of June. Yeah. This is a whole month ago that Paul was saying that. Not this Paul, that Paul. The lesser Paul. I want to be Scott Mendelson Paul.
Exactly, the wannabe Scott Mendelson.
Yeah. Anyway, that like I said, I have no faith in this, and I have a feeling that, you know, Disney's going to pay for thinking that a meme was something they wanted to emulate with a show.
Yeah, they got Morbius and didn't realize it. Many Dragon 5 has been a member for 15 months, says Agatha also doesn't look like a Marvel show at all. Most people don't know Marvel. Most people that don't know Marvel see this as a weird witch show. Most people will not watch it. Yeah, I'm stretching to see the appeal in it too, but that's why I feel like they know they've only got one shot at an audience here, and that's it.
This clip was taken from Midnight's Edge in the Morning, which streams live every Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 9 AM Pacific Time on the Midnight's Edge main channel. There you can send in your live questions and comments before clips and full stream replays are uploaded to Midnight's Edge live archives. We are also on Twitter, Rumble, Odyssey and Facebook, so smash that like, help share, subscribe and join us.